In our last lesson, we have set it up the webhook using Python and Flask server. Where we were able to establish the connection between the business rule of ALM Octane and the Flask server. So just quickly recap and see what we have done. In the last exercise lesson, we have created a business rule and pointed on the manual test entity within the default workspace, and also just sent out webhook with these fields to this resource on that server using that port. So this was fine. We made the communication work. And now let's see what is being sent out by ALM Octane. So basically, whenever I do a new test creation or an update on test or a deletion on test, a webhook is sent out. A webhook message is sent out as JSON, and I can use this JSON to manipulate or trigger additional events outside of ALM Octane, feed in data into external application, or even feed back data into ALM Octane based on the condition and workflows I've defined in my webhooks. So now let's see how the data looked like. So I have already done something. So I did update a test, I did create a test, and I deleted a test. So you can see here basically the different JSONs which were sent out. So I will just copy them into a notepad just in order to show you how these are prepared and how to work with those. So this is the last one. So basically what we can see here is the JSON which is sent out. JSON contains different parameters, and I think one of the main parameter is here the event type. And while I'm looking at this event type, I can directly see what was the submission mode. So I can see here event type was update, here event type was create, so I created something, and here event type was delete. And after this, you get information about the shared space, about the workspace, username, and the email, also the ID of the user, as well as the data was what changed. So I can see here that on a test, manual test, I did some changes. What was exactly the change? So whenever you do an update, there's also something, an attribute within your JSON, which is called changes. And these changes has old value and has also new value in order to really see what is being changed and why, and maybe in order to react on the change, you can also trigger additional events after the change happened. Yeah. So for creation, you just see the different fields which are there, and for deletion, you just see the latest state of the test and its attributes and fields. So basically, this is what we get out of the JSON. And let's try to just write a simple 3, 4, 5 lines to react on those. Yeah? So if event type is create, I would like to print test creation. If event type is update, I would like to print test modification, and if it is delete, I would like to print test deletion. So let's see how this can be achieved. We go back to our Python, and here we are just printing the whole JSON. So let's say we get rid of the print of the JSON. Oops, sorry, this is the wrong language. I need to use here the hashtag to print it out. So, okay. So now we know we have the JSON based on the request. So how can we find out what is the entity type? So basically, the entity type we can define as parameter and say we have the request, we have the JSON, and on that JSON, there's an attribute called entity type. So basically, this should return me the entity type, and based on the entity type, let's say if entity type equals create, then I would like to print test creation, and else if entity type is update, I would like to print test modification, and then also the same for delete test deletion. So this is a very simple way how we are going to work with the webhook. So let's stop and rerun it. So now webhook is active, and let's see if we can exactly get those prints out of our Flask server. So let's go back into ALM Octane, and now we go to the tests, and let's add a test. Yeah, so we start with adding the test. So this is the webhook demo test for creation. Add. So I've added the test. I can see the ID. So let's click on it. So we are directly on that test. So let me go in PyCharm. Okay, we had an error message. What was actually the error message? Key error. So it was not able to find the entity type. Let me check how it was represented. Event type. So this was the issue. So let's fix this issue. And save it. And now rerun. So the webhook server is running. Let's go to ALM Octane and do it again. So we'll create a new test again. So let's say we have here test new. Let's rename it webhook demo test new. And let's edit. This is our test, and see in PyCharm what happened. So we see test creation, which is great. And I note that the first one worked, but the other two will also print, at least the update will print as well test creation. So let's say test modification. And while I'm doing it, I'll just restart the service again. So test creation worked. Let's see when we modify the test. So we go here and write this is a change. And we select here the module. We say ready for automation, save it. And in PyCharm, I can see test modification, which is good. So test modification is working as well. And now let's delete the test. We go here and delete the test. Test is deleted. Test deletion. So this is a way how you can work with the webhooks based on the submission type, which is coming from ALM Octane. You can trigger your own events, your own workflow defined in Python, and execute the processes you need. Or if this would be an interface, whenever a test is created, you want to apply this change to an external application, then this can be done as well.